Firstly, I need to warn you that this is going to be an extremely long post, and for that I apologize. There's also going to be a lot of jumping back and forth between timelines. I'm in a state of desperation, and I don't know what to do. Also, please note English is not my first language, so please ignore any spelling or grammatical errors. So, my girlfriend, a 31-year-old female, and her husband, a 42-year-old male, whom let's call Sean, and I met and started dating when I was 16 and he was 27. I always thought a relationship was not like the typical relationships with major age gaps, but I have been proven so wrong. In South Africa, the legal age of consent is 16, so being a typical 16-year-old at the time, I thought it was acceptable. He initially lied to me about his age because when I initially asked him, he asked me to guess, and I said he looked 23, so he just went with it. Only after he love-bombed me, which I only realized a few months ago, did he come out to me that he was in fact 27. For context, I had a very tumultuous upbringing. My mom has bipolar disorder, and only a few months ago I realized my dad was a covert narcissist. About 7 months ago, I found out my dad was cheating on my mom with a girl my age. That's when my childhood finally started making sense as I started putting two and two together. My mom has also always been narcissistic, and we never had a good relationship. My parents, especially my mom, always favored my older brother over me. She always used to tell me, "I love both my kids, but your brother will always be my favorite." It was only until I finished high school I started realizing that my dad favored him as well. I say so because I applied to go to university all on my own and always had to beg my dad to pay my fees. He never asked me what I wanted to become when I was younger, but as soon as I turned 18 and moved out of the house to go live with Sean, he asked when we will be getting married. It was only after I found out about my dad's affair that I realized just how misogynistic he really is. I started working, doing waitressing straight after moving in with Sean, but balancing work and school became too hard, and adding the fact that I always had to beg my dad to pay for my studies, I decided to just drop out of university. My brother, on the other hand, has received 3 opportunities that I know of to go to university, all paid by my dad, and my dad told me he will always pay for my brother's studies no matter how many times he wants to go study. Fast forward, and after dating for 7 years, Sean and I got married. Our relationship was amazing. We communicated extremely well, and we were so in love that we could in some instances sync telepathically without even trying. 2 years into our marriage, we finally decided we were ready for a baby. I fell pregnant after 3 months of trying. After an amazing pregnancy, we had a healthy baby girl. Sean was an amazing father to our daughter. She is 5 now, and they are still joined at the hip. Fast forward another 2 years to August 2023. I felt in my heart that I wanted another baby. At first, Sean was apprehensive, but after thinking about and discussing it for a month, we decided on our wedding anniversary, which is in September, that we would be financially okay to try for another baby. My birthday was in early October, and this is the point where everything started unraveling. It was my 30th birthday. Sean has always been terrible with birthdays, but for my 30th, he hinted on numerous occasions that he would put in a lot of effort for this very special milestone, and he knew I looked forward to it very much. So on the day of my birthday, we both took off from work. I got up and made a lot of effort to get dressed up. We start driving, and I got a bit confused to the direction we were going, as it wasn't to a very nice part of town. We stop at the mall, and we go in. I thought, I'm just going to trust him and go with it. He took me to a rundown takeaway place. Now, they make nice barbecue chicken, but it was definitely not a place anyone would go to all dressed up for a momentous occasion. I immediately started crying and walked out. The car ride home was silent, apart from my sobbing. When we got home, I went to our bedroom and threw myself under the covers crying. I never left the room after that, and that is how my 30th birthday ended. We took off from work again the next day. After he dropped the kids off at daycare, we discussed what happened the day before. He came out and admitted that he started gambling online and that he had no money left to do anything for my birthday. He gambled out his whole salary and maxed out all his savings and credit cards. I was devastated. I told him I wanted a divorce, and he shut down after that. I called my dad for advice. This was before I found out about my dad's affair, and he convinced me to give Sean another chance. At first, I said no, but my dad said as long as we communicate, we would be able to work things out. I told Sean I will give him one more chance, but only if he gets help for his addiction. At this point, in the back of my mind, I was keeping the possibility open that I might already be pregnant again after a month of trying. At first, he said he didn't have a gambling problem, but he reluctantly contacted the Gambling Association in my presence since I told him there was no other way that I would give him another chance. He made an appointment to go and see them, but he never followed through with the appointment and ended up not going. A few days later, I found out I was pregnant again. We were happy because we wanted this baby, but at the same time, I was so worried about Sean's gambling. I realized I already fell pregnant that same month we had all our discussions before we decided we would officially start trying for another baby. So for the next couple of months, I watched his bank statements like a hawk and made sure he paid all his bills. Fast forward to February 2024. I'm 6 months pregnant, and it's our daughter's 5th birthday, and I organized an amazing party for her. 2 days later, on a Friday afternoon, after finishing off at work, we went to a local pub down the road with some colleagues. We worked for the same company at the time. We all formed a very nice clique and got on very well. 2 of our colleagues decided to go all out and got pretty wasted not very long after we got there. The one colleague, let's call her Samantha, started going on very frequent bathroom breaks, and we all started joking that the alcohol had taken over her bladder. It got close to the time to pick up our kids from daycare, so since I was the sober one, I drove to pick up the kids. When we got back to the pub, the kids immediately ran to the play area, and my friend, who was also my colleague, decided to keep them entertained as she was also not drinking. Sean wasn't there when we got back. They told me he took Samantha's car to go to a nearby shop to buy her some cigarettes, and then he went back to the office as he had a few urgent things to attend to. We work in logistics, so it was nothing out of the ordinary. About 10 minutes pass, and Samantha gets up and says she has to get her other phone as she forgot it at the office. She had a personal phone and a work phone, and was known for always forgetting her personal belongings in random places, so it was nothing out of the ordinary. Fast forward an hour later, I phoned Sean to check when he would be back, since our daughter has been bugging me on when he will get back to the pub. He says he'll be about 10 minutes, and we hang up. I thought to myself he sounded flustered, but figured he was intoxicated and he probably felt overwhelmed about the urgent matter he had to attend to at the office. 15 minutes later, I go to the toilet. I get back to the group and I see Sean and Samantha finally got back from the office. Everyone has a nice time during the evening and people start leaving. Samantha planned to meet up with another colleague, let's call him John, later during the evening to hang out some more. Every time Samantha mentioned hanging out with John later in the evening, Sean would say he was going. He didn't discuss it with me, but I figured he probably needs a break, so it's fine. My friend also decides to leave, gives me a hug, and bolts out of there. She didn't bother hugging anyone else, which was a bit strange, but she's quite introverted, so I figured she must just have felt drained from hanging out with the group and playing with the kids. At this point, the only people left were myself, Sean, Samantha, and our 2 kids. Sean and Samantha sat next to each other across from me and the kids at the table. We're all having a nice time chatting until I see Sean do a quick scoot and sits right next to Samantha. I keep the conversation flowing and notice Sean drops his arm under the table. I listen attentively, and Samantha lets out a soft moan. At first, I wanted to ask why his hand was under the table, but I figured I have eyes in my head, so I will take a look for myself. I quickly duck my head under the table, and I see Sean rip out his hand from under Samantha's dress. I immediately jumped up and started losing my expletive. I asked him what the expletive was his hand doing under her dress. These 2 expletives immediately started gaslighting me. Sean asks me what's going on. I told him I can't believe he would even ask me that since he knows I saw his hand under Samantha's dress.
He asks me how I could have seen that. I must be mistaken. Samantha starts denying anything happened. She promises to me on her kids' lives that nothing happened. She has 2 daughters the same age as my kids with her husband. Samantha was so convincing, if I didn't see Sean's hand under her dress with my own eyes, I would have believed her. I told both of them to go expletive themselves, grabbed the kids, and stormed out of there. Sean followed me out, and Samantha was not far behind. I put the kids in the car. Samantha begs me to stay and tells me again nothing happened. She asked me not to cause trouble at work on Monday. I just told her we will talk on Monday. Sean also got in the car and I drove us home. On our way driving, I couldn't keep quiet. I screamed and shouted at Sean in the car. We got home and I dropped Sean and the kids at home and drove straight to my friend, the one that hung out with us at the pub earlier in the day. I told her everything that happened while she cried with me. When I was done telling her, she told me she knew there was something going on between Sean and Samantha. She said she went to the toilet. She followed a few steps behind Samantha at one point during her many bathroom breaks. When my friend got out of the toilet and started walking back, she caught Sean and Samantha making out around the corner. They were so shocked to see her, they immediately told her Samantha's earring fell out and Sean helped her put it back in her ear. Then I remembered earlier that day, Sean and Samantha was joking with my friend about Samantha's earrings falling out and that it was so funny because she struggled to get it back in her ear, so Sean had to help her. I remembered it was at this point where my friend got really quiet in the group. But as I said, she's introverted, so it was not really noticeable.
I stayed for a while with my friend, but decided to go back home as I was sure the kids were wondering where I was and it was getting late. I got home and still Sean swore up and down nothing happened between him and Samantha. I decided to not tell him about what my friend had told me and that I would give him until Sunday to see if he would come clean on his own. I asked for his phone and I immediately check his call logs. I see 5 back-and-forth calls made between him and Samantha. I asked him what they were talking about, and he told me that he told her to not contact me because I needed time to cool down. I asked him why were there so many calls made between the 2 of them, and he just repeated what he said previously. I told him there was no way they could call back and forth 5 times, and all he said was to not call me. He said he felt so overwhelmed he couldn't really remember what they all talked about. They did discuss what happened at the pub, but he couldn't exactly remember what was said. Of course I did not believe him and just went to our bedroom to cool down. Stupid old me still said he could sleep next to me to not make the kids worry too much. Thankfully, I had my full-body pregnancy pillow to create some distance between us. I cried that whole night in silence and barely slept. The next day, the Saturday, he still denied that anything happened. I stayed in bed the whole day and he remained downstairs for most of the day and kept the kids busy. The Sunday, he still denied that anything happened. I don't have anything to prove it, but I'm sure Sean and Samantha discussed on the phone that they would deny anything ever happened until the day they die. The Sunday evening, I told Sean he didn't have to admit what he did because my friend told me on Friday already that she caught them kissing. He immediately got quiet. Only then he admitted something happened. I asked him to come clean and tell me everything. He said that was the first time they ever kissed. Nothing happened between them before or after, and he honestly has no idea why they kissed. He said he didn't have feelings for her at any point and that the kissing meant nothing. I asked him if anything happened when the 2 of them were back at the office on Friday. He promised me nothing happened, but I can't forget the fact that he sounded flustered when I called him from the pub. Also, I know this man. He is not just a kissing kind of guy. He has to go all the way if ever there's kissing involved. I got an STI test as part of my pregnancy evaluations, and thankfully it all came back clear. But this still does not convince me that nothing happened, and he only admitted to what he knows I know and nothing more. On Monday, I just decided to ignore Samantha. I thought about going to Human Resources, HR, but was scared Sean would use his job. I was 6 months pregnant, so we obviously needed the money more than ever. I had to see expletive Samantha every single day. I felt so depressed. Other colleagues noticed I wasn't myself, and I withdrew myself from everyone completely.
Sean told them I was feeling off because of the pregnancy. I felt like a terrible mom blaming my baby for something he didn't even do. I so badly wanted to tell everyone that the pregnancy is actually going well, but then I had no other excuse on why I was acting so different in the office. Thankfully, I'm on maternity leave now, so I don't have to see Samantha's ugly face. I'm bisexual, and there is absolutely nothing attractive about her. Sean told me I did absolutely nothing wrong to make him cheat, that I was the perfect wife. He said it with such pride, not realizing that I'm not taking it as a compliment, since evidently he would sleep with anything on two legs.
At this point, I felt trapped. After 14, almost 15 years together, with 2 kids, 5 and under, and with me being 6 months pregnant, my parents lived 2 hours away. By this time, I went no contact with both of my parents after I found out about my dad's affair. My mom forgave him and stayed with him. This is when I realized why my mom was always so insecure all these years, always accusing my dad of cheating, and him always telling us she was imagining herself because of her bipolar disorder, as she also experiences schizophrenia. None of our friends are in a position to take me in with 3 kids, and Sean's family is also 2 hours away, so none of us can leave. And we also didn't want to upend our kids. Over the past couple of months, Sean and I discussed what we would do about our marriage. He eventually convinced me to give him another chance. I went through a period of what I now know to be called hysterical bonding. But still, I told Sean his actions of the next couple of months would dictate on where our relationship would go. I told him to stop making promises and that he will have to consistently show me that he is serious about reconciling. If you thought things couldn't get any worse. Between February and now, Sean again fell into his gambling addiction. I decided to stop mothering him. He is a grown man and he knows what he has to do. Our son is now 9 weeks old, and Sean has completely checked out. He hasn't changed one single diaper for our infant. He will hold the baby for about 5 minutes when he gets home after work. He doesn't even give me time to take a shower. The longest I've gone without a shower was 9 days. I felt disgusting and could smell my own stinky body odor. I had to take a rushed shower one morning after I couldn't take it anymore, while I had to block out the baby crying. As I'm typing this out, I'm again on day 5 of not showering, and I'm on my period. I have never felt this low in my life, mentally and physically. Sean made jokes in the past that he is tired of working. The environment is too stressful, and a lot of the times it eats away at our personal time as we have to work overtime majority of the time. This is true. This is, according to him, the reason why he started gambling. In April, when I was 8 months pregnant, he decided to quit his job without discussing anything with me. He had no other job lined up. He said he's going full-time into his online gambling. I told him he was cursing stupid. How the expletive could he do this to me at 8 months pregnant? He couldn't say anything, just looked at me like a deer in headlights. I just couldn't believe my whole life was imploding like this, and I had absolutely no control over it. Thankfully, he found another job. He had to take a major pay cut, but still, it was something. He still got enough to pay rent and pay some bills. Today, Sean picked up the kids from daycare, dropped them at home, and went back to work as he apparently had a ton of work to catch up on. I've been secretly tracking his phone, so I know he went back to the office. When he got there, he video recorded himself in the car and sent it to me. He said he doesn't want to talk face-to-face, as he knows I will lose my expletive again. He said he knows our marriage is over because of his cheating and gambling. I have also withdrawn myself for the past couple of weeks due to exhaustion from having to care for our infant, also because of the fact that he gambled out all our rent money for the month of July. Sean made another loan at his new job so he could pay our rent for July. In the video, he admitted that he again gambled out the rent money for July and all the rent money for August. We have already received a final letter of demand to pay our rent for July.
The final day is tomorrow. Our rent for August has to be paid on Thursday. By law, our landlord can cancel our lease on Friday and order us to move out with immediate effect. I am so scared I'm going to end up homeless with our 3 kids and our cat. I have absolutely nowhere to go if we get evicted. I've contacted a lawyer to discuss divorce and am waiting to hear back to schedule an appointment. South Africa is a no-fault state. We have an anti-nuptial contract. Whatever is in our name is ours. We have 1 car, which I own, and the furniture will have to be split. I don't even have a place to put it now, since I'm sure we will get evicted. The cherry on the cake. A few days after getting back from the hospital after giving birth, my wedding ring disappeared. Sean admitted on the video that he stole my wedding ring and pawned it to feed his gambling addiction. He even helped me look for the ring like a fool when I told him I lost it. I felt like expletive for losing my ring because it was quite expensive. Then today, he withdrew money from my bank account to pay off his loan so they don't sell my ring. I cannot make this expletive up. I don't actually know what I want from this post. I feel like I have dissociated. I feel numb. The only thing keeping me going at this point are my kids.